Right now, New Zealand politics feels like a system in overdrive. Parliament is routinely placed into urgency to bypass standard scrutiny. Public sector jobs are being heavily reduced, and the rhetoric directed at immigrants and Te Tiriti o Waitangi is escalating. When the political climate feels this volatile, it is natural to look outward. We search for a voice of reason, someone who navigated complex times with a steady hand, who can clarify what is happening today. Recently, former Prime Minister Helen Clark appeared on the program Te Ao with Moana. 18 years removed from office, she presented herself as exactly that voice, an elder stateswoman offering a calm, moral compass for a divided country. Her diagnosis is sharp. She called out Winston Peters for divisive rhetoric. She criticized the government for ramming legislation through executive-controlled select committees. And she noted that a massive wedge is being driven into the relationship between the Crown and Maori. This critique relies on a specific version of history. To understand the full picture, we have to look past the performance and check the historical receipts. During her interview, Clark expressed deep concern over the current administration's methods. She pointed out that passing legislation under urgency is happening at record or near-record levels, effectively locking the public out of the democratic process. Yet she also admitted that her own administration used the exact same tool, stating, "We've all used urgency in the end to move through the budget, debate, or whatever." She acknowledges the tool is a shared inheritance, a standard piece of parliamentary machinery her own government normalized. This chart shows the trend in the current parliament. Out of 177 total bills, 104, nearly 59%, passed under urgency, bypassing traditional hurdles. Yet Clark governed for 9 years with power to reform select committees, and those structural vulnerabilities remain. The gaps in her historical account extend to her political alliances. When asked about Winston Peters telling an Asian Green MP to go back to where he came from, Clark claimed his rhetoric didn't surprise her, noting it has been part of his platform since the 1990s. The documented record confirms this. In 2004, Peters publicly complained about New Zealand becoming an Asian colony. Yet 1 year after those remarks, Clark signed a coalition agreement with him and elevated him to foreign minister. Her government built no institutional guardrails to moderate that behavior. Instead, she handed him immense power in exchange for the temporary compliance required to maintain her administration. A moment of reflection. Clark also lamented the great wedge being driven into Maori-Crown relations by the current government's legislative agenda. However, to secure coalition stability with Winston Peters between 2005 and 2008, Clark's government facilitated a bill explicitly designed to delete treaty principles from New Zealand legislation. This timeline shows the legislative path. In 2005, the deletion of the principles of the treaty bill proceeded to select committee as a coalition deal. This established the blueprint for the Treaty Principles Bill returning to the forefront in 2026. When discussing her own controversial 2004 foreshore and seabed legislation, which overrode a Court of Appeal ruling, Clark described it as a necessary legal clarification. Today, the government uses that exact word, clarification, to describe the legislative overrides of the Maori Land Court that are currently stripping away customary rights. These political wedges were preloaded and legitimized by the centrist establishment years ago. They functioned as coalition sweeteners long before they became the centerpiece of modern debate. The political weapons causing so much damage today, the urgency, the bypassed select committees, the legislative overrides of the courts, were originally forged by the very politicians now claiming the moral high ground. This is legacy management. It is the process by which former leaders edit their records, removing specific compromises to curate a blameless memory of their time in power. Viewing these abuses as anomalies obscures the fact that they have become bipartisan features of the Crown's machinery. Accountability will not be handed down from the Crown, from corporate media, or from former leaders who speak as if they were merely observers of their own history. To counter systemic misinformation, we have to look past the curated narratives and do the hard work of always checking the receipts.